Here we are again, all pumped up for the upcoming winter, 25-26. We all start diving into this long-range forecasting. What do I mean by that? We got NOAA with La Nina, El Nino, and the certain ocean temperatures. We have things like the Farmer's Almanac we dive into, or even the old Farmer's Almanac. Every season, we're getting fired up to try to estimate what sort of winter we're doing. Do we need a new sled? Do we got to buy a bunch of new gear? And you know what? From my research and a little bit of dive into their past performances, things like NOAA are 50-55% maybe. Argumentally, Farmer's Almanac's, batting a little lower, 45-48. So this season, I'm thinking about throwing my hat in the ring to see how well I can do.
It's August, but it's hard to believe that many of the things that will be shaping our winter are already coming into place. In this video today, we're going to look at what's going on out here in the Pacific. We're going to talk about the ocean temperatures. We're also going to look really far to the north at the Arctic, and we're going to talk about what that might do to our winter.
20-some years now I've been living in Revelstoke, and I've had some great winters. I've had some really epic winters. I've had some mediocre winters, but one of the real great things about Revelstoke is it's usually pretty consistent. You don't really tend to have absolutely horrific winters. Mind you, I do recall one that was horrific. The snow started off great. January, we got some high altitude rain, and then it got cold, and you couldn't even shoot a gun into the snowpack for a good 2 weeks or so. But, me and a couple buddies jumped in the truck and went down to the States and kind of saved the time. But otherwise, out of 20-plus years, it's been pretty consistent. But what we're looking for are those epic winters. And the last real epic one, 97, and maybe another one around 13, 14 was really good as well. I'm kind of calling that this one's going to be pretty similar to 97. And I'm going to base that on a few things that we're going to go over. But I'm hoping those few things might be a little bit better in the long-range forecasting than, like we talked about, NOAA or the Farmer's Almanac. But who knows? But here we go. Let's cover a few of them. With a 50-50 chance of getting this long-range forecast correct, let's dive into what I'm thinking is great signs for an upcoming epic winter, and an early winter at that. I've owned this property outside of Revelstoke for a long time now, and it's full of apple trees, berry bushes. The river runs through the back. It's full of salmon. And one of the first things that started leading me down this path that we might be on a rad winter that's coming up is my blackberry bushes were full, and they were just jam-packed full of berries, but they're about 2 weeks early. I've been munching on these for a while now, and they've been amazing, but it's the one of many signs that gives me the thought that I might get this long-range forecast right. Another factor that's kind of sticking out for me right now is the fact that the temperatures are dropping to being quite chilly at night. Even though it's the end of August here, we're down to 8 degrees, 7 degrees Celsius at 4 or 5 in the morning. And when I get up, I start noticing a few things that have changed on the ground here, like a bunch of leaves falling. I know that's that standard idea of fall, but man, I'm not used to seeing it this early. The summer in Revelstoke this year has been epic. It's had a lot of rain. We've had a lot of cool evenings, really nice weather, where the past 5 or 6 years, it's been really warm, a lot of fire smoke. This summer really reminds me of the 97, the late 90s up to the early 2000s. And after summers like that, we had better winters.
So you wouldn't think another great mid-August day out here on the lake would tell you much about your upcoming winter, and you should probably just be focused on the lake. But if you're a snowmobiler, your heart's in the winter and in the mountains. So what can a lake really tell me about what the upcoming winter is going to be like? Well, see that river there? That river, the salmon love to run up. And the sockeye salmon coming in and the amount of sockeye could tell you a little bit about what the ocean temperatures are doing. Now, some of the best winters I can remember, the river behind my house was full of these sockeye salmon. You could barely walk across the river without stepping on a fish.
McDonald runs a test fishery for the Pacific Salmon Commission. It's estimated this year's sockeye cycle is expected to exceed 10 million fish.
This particular sockeye salmon run hasn't been this abundant since 1997. That's close to 3 decades ago. And the thing is, no one is exactly sure why so many fish are coming back now.
So another big factor about winter coming early here in the hanky factor is that this is the last long weekend of the summer, and you see how busy it is. So the humans are actually also starting to have a little subconscious about maybe an early winter.
Another thing that really drives the weather is how warm the temperatures are across the North Pacific and how cold it starts to get across Alaska. Of course, if you tighten that pressure gradient up, we've seen this the last couple of years where we have this screaming jet that's now moving into Alaska, starts to drop south, and we pound it here into the Northwest, also into parts of Western Canada. That usually leads to really locking that cold air up to the north. This year may be different. We've not talked about this much, but this is the PDO, the Pacific Decadal Oscillation, and if you look at this, in July and August, we are near some of the lowest values that we've seen on this. The PDO came in at a -4, and that's pretty close to a record.
It is 2025, and there's an assortment of other tools available to us. So why don't we ask ChatGPT what it thinks? Can you do a deep dive into the long-range weather forecast for Revelstoke, British Columbia for 25 and 26, and let me know what it's going to be like for us snowmobilers?
Alright, let's cut to the chase with a little quick humour on top. If I had a crystal ball, I'd tell you the exact snowflake count, but from what we can dig up looking forward, it seems like Revelstoke's going to keep its reputation. The long-range hints suggest a good heap of snowfall for 2025-2026, especially thanks to some solid Pacific storms rolling in. In other words, it looks like you and your sled won't be short of fresh powder. So yeah, think forward to a pretty classic Revelstoke winter. No sugarcoating, just plenty of snow to carve through.
And that's exactly what we want to hear. And you know what? It's how I feel too. I think we're on one of those big winters, based on a bunch of different factors. So I'm really looking forward to it. For 25-26, Soul Rides and YouTube, we're going to start pumping out a bunch more content. We're going to look at some case studies. We're going to look at weather. We're going to do a bunch of things. So if you want to subscribe and follow and like and help us grow our channel, that'd be awesome.